Revelation 2533. From the 1st of November 1942. Self-knowledge. Humility, arrogance. These are the signs of the confusion of human thinking, that everyone believes to live a God-pleasing way of life and therefore makes no effort to perfect himself. The right way of life must show a certain humility, and the humble person will always strive to become worthy of God's love and grace. He will never believe to be as pleasing to God because humility shows him the great distance from him to God. But he who lacks humility is still far from godliness, for he also lacks grace. The humble person asks for grace and thus he will also receive it. He asks for God's help on his path of life. He asks for help to attain maturity of soul. He feels weak and incapable on his own and thus requests God's grace in prayer. And God gives his grace to the humble. But anyone with an arrogant spirit believes himself to be God-connected without being so. He does not recognize the distance from him and thus does not seek to reduce it either. He does not see his shortcomings and faults and therefore does not seek to remedy them either. And since he does not feel weak, he does not ask for grace either. And thus he will go away empty-handed, because grace can only come to him when he desires it. And that is why there will be no spiritual progress where all self-knowledge is lacking, because people are not serious about their spiritual development. They will not strive for something they believe they possess, and they believe they possess it because they are not true and honest towards themselves. For if the desire for truth is strongly developed in them, they give themselves an account of their actions and thoughts, and they would recognize their shortcomings and faults and thus attain humility. For the person who takes a hard look at himself and considers his spiritual poverty will become humble. But then God is also ready with his grace, because it is now consciously requested by the humble person, and only then will he lead a God-pleasing way of life. Amen.